everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Marketing Inc. I have an awesome guest with me today, Miss Anneke from Sparrow Social. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Let's dive in.
So, if you have not seen Pink Sparrow on social media, then you're missing out because she has some fabulous reels that caught my attention. And I knew that she was somebody that I really wanted to talk to about Instagram reels for small businesses, local businesses, and obviously marketers and agencies. So, before we get started, why don't you give the audience kind of a background of really how you got into this and how you really started to see that reels was an area that you wanted to focus on?
Amazing. Let's dive into the origin story. So it all started, I finished my degree in uni, bright and chirpy and happy. And straight away, luckily enough, I got a account or a small business who needed some help with their marketing. So I was like, sure, I'll jump on, I'll help you guys out. But unfortunately, I was diagnosed with endo, which is endometriosis, which meant I had these horrible, painful periods for a whole week out of every month. I'm like out of action, in a bed, blanket, hot water bottle, you name it. And as you can
It's awful.
imagine, oh, terrible, excruciating. And as you can imagine, any business owner would be like, well, we kind of have to let you go. That's not really stable. So it was a low point, but it was also a blessing in disguise because from that, I decided to create my own social media marketing agency. And I thought, let me just do it on my own. Let's see how this goes. So it was kind of the little push that I needed. Well, I had to make it work because I had nothing else at the time. And then I was completely booked out, clients in all different industries, you name it. I just loved what I was doing. I loved doing my own thing. And then another hurdle hit, on this entrepreneurial journey, we always face these hurdles, but what truly sets us apart is the ones that overcome it or level up. So the next hurdle was 2020. All these businesses had to close down. Lockdowns was crazy here in Australia, just bizarre, really weird.
Yes.
And
I think we were all watching videos and following it along pretty closely. At least I was. That it's insane.
oh, it was nuts. Like you had curfews and it was really weird. Um So from that, I was, really, really down because I wanted to start a family. And then all of a sudden, my income was gone. So I had to make this work. So then I decided to take everything I learnt and apply it to my own account because I was growing all these other businesses' accounts beautifully. I kind of neglected my own one. I was like, okay, it's time to focus on my account and show that what I know works. So I spent some time
Mhm.
analyzing all the TikToks because Reels had only just launched and I could see that TikTok blew up. So I knew Instagram Reels was going to match that same trend. So I invested all my time and energy. I drew on knowledge from my business degree, from my experience with other business owners doing their socials, and then I created a strategy. Then for 30 days, I implemented this strategy on my account. Now I had less than 1,000 followers on there. After 30 days, it hit 10,000 followers. After 30 days, I was blown
That's
away.
awesome.
And never in my wildest dreams did I think that would happen. I mean, I knew what I know works, but I didn't think
Yeah.
it would happen that fast. So then after the 30 days, I thought, hey, let's just keep this train going. I'll keep doing this strategy. And then by the end of the third month, 100,000 business owners were on Pink Sparrow Social. It just
Wow.
blew me away. And then from that, I decided to take everything I learned and put it in a course and teach it to everyone.
I
And
love that. So much great stuff there. I mean, exactly like you said, a lot of times I think, especially us as marketers, we do have a habit of focusing on other people's businesses, helping them grow in whatever way, and our own accounts do tend to get neglected. It's always like that old adage that the painter's house always needs to be painted. So the fact that this, crazy circumstance in the world forced you into really focusing on your own account sounds like one of the best things that you could have done. So there are several things that I notice about your account that I think is very interesting. So the first is kind of your signature outfit. And this is something that you're wearing in, I would say, like 90, 95% of your reels. Is that right?
yes, definitely. Unless I'm doing a transition, I'm wearing this signature pink blazer.
And how did you decide that this was going to be something that you had a signature outfit for and you were going to use it all the time. Because I think a lot of people feel like, I can't even do a video, two videos wearing the same thing. And here you are just making it like Steve Jobs simple. I'm not even going to think about what I'm wearing. I'm just going to be able to rinse and repeat. So tell me kind of how you got there from your thought process.
Yes, my thought process was consistency. People love consistency. One thing that makes an account's followers go up and down is when they're changing their language or their style or the content they put out. So straight from the start, I wanted to be really consistent in the vibe of my page, because people who follow me for one reason, if I was to then change the whole vibe, rebrand, those people might leave and new ones would come. So it's not a very stable way to grow your account if you're changing niches, changing out outfits. So for me, straight up, I thought, hey, let's just stick to the pink jacket. Firstly, it makes it really easy for me because I don't have to change clothes all the time and worry what to wear. I just go, there's my jacket, I'll put that on. And no, I only have one jacket. I don't have 1,000 of these. And I don't wear it
So
every
maybe a
day.
lot of laundry, but maybe not, because Reels probably doesn't get it that dirty at the end of the day. Okay, I love that. And I think obviously it makes you very recognizable as well. So I don't have to ever wonder if it's your reel that I'm looking at. I can see it at a glance and it makes it very, very easy to tell. And if you know that this is content that you've already liked in the past, that you engaged with, I think it definitely draws the eye more than really anything else I've seen. And I don't know that I've seen a lot of people that have kind of done that approach of having the signature outfit. So I think that's super cool. Something else that I've noticed is your thumbnails for your videos. So I really kind of want to actually dive into your whole strategy and your whole process, but just tell me your thoughts on how important adding a unique thumbnail is to your reels, because I do feel like for the most part, people are just taking a clip from the video itself, using it as that thumbnail or the profile grid picture, but you really seem to go the extra mile when it comes to that. So tell me how important you feel that is.
For me personally, because my whole brand is pink, having that pink background with the title of the video on the cover is really important for me, because then my audience can scroll through all my reels and straight away they can see, oh, that's the reel I'm looking for, and they can find the content really easily. Again, it also helps with the branding and setting myself apart from other business owners, like you mentioned before.
Mhm.
But that being said, some accounts grow really well without any cover photos. For me personally, I really recommend having a cover picture because one, your audience can find your content. Two, they know it's you. Three, it helps you stand out.
Yeah, I love it. So let's kind of take a step back. And when you first got into doing social, let's say like working with these other businesses before focusing on your account, what were some of the things that you were testing and what was the approach that you were kind of developing in your work with your clients first?
Amazing. I love those questions. So I was trialing and testing a lot of different things because you have to experiment to find out what works and what doesn't. That's, as marketers, that's our job. We can't just guess and say this is going to work. We have to test it, test it, test it, test it. So straight off the bat, when I worked with clients, they said to me, oh, we want to put this out, can you tell everyone we have this big sale? Can you tell everyone the price? Can you say all these upfront one-way conversational content? And I intuitively knew, I was like, this isn't going to work, because social media is about being social. When people are on this platform, they don't want to feel like they're being sold to straight up. If they want that, they could go to the movies and watch all the ads. There's places for that. Some people
Yeah.
might go on YouTube and enjoy the ads, but I don't know about you, but me, I'm hovering my finger over that skip button so I can skip it after 3 seconds. People don't really like watching ads. So I knew that my clients needed to focus more on creating conversations and community and steering away from using it as promotional content, saying, hey, we have this big sale on, or come in last minute offer. And
Yeah.
it was a little hard at the start because these business owners, they weren't leaning into it, because the old way of marketing was radio, newspapers, very one way.
Mhm.
Social
Yeah.
media, it's completely different ballgame. So I had to let them know, hey, give me a week. Let's test this out. If it works, let's double down. If it doesn't, we'll continue doing what we were doing before. And by the end of that week, every single time with every business, they had so much better results just by starting conversations and treating social media like a date rather than this one-way conversation. And it made a huge difference on every account in every industry.
That's awesome. So, at the end of the day, a week is not a really long time to see results. But you were obviously doing something that was convincing them that, hey, this is a path that we should stay on. So, what are some of your favorite ways, or at least what were some of your favorite ways at that time of starting these conversations as opposed to just focusing on the traditional promotional content?
Yeah, a great way to start conversations is just to ask questions. you know, um, get get people to know who the business owner is. Use the stories to get conversations going. Show the behind the scenes look. Say you're a wellness center, show them, what happens behind the curtains and everything. And then people start paying attention, going, oh, this is really interesting. I haven't seen this side. It's not this clean cut sort of content. It's more raw and real and authentic. So we started with the stories, and then at the same time, we worked on creating content that was controversial. So it sparked conversation, and we
Hmm.
used a whole bunch of different strategies. But the main focus was always on that call to action, giving people a reason to comment, telling them what to comment, telling them how to get the conversation going. And then on top of that, making it really simple. So a big mistake I've noticed business owners do with their call to actions is they put a massive long question out there and they ask people to spill their heart out. Now, a lot of people, they're not sitting in a quiet room by themselves, contemplating, drinking a hot cocoa, ready to just spill their heart out to strangers. They're usually on the
Some
fly, on
people
the
are.
go. Some people are. Me and you, we love that.
Yeah.
We love that. But when you're starting to train an audience to engage with your content and get that conversation going, you have to make it so easy and so simple because you're
Hmm.
training the people. So from the start, we just had call to actions that were so simple. Things like, make some noise in the comments if this inspired you. A drop an emoji if you agree. Which one was your favorite? One, two, or three? Stuff like that. And then
Hmm.
we made sure to interact, not just post and ghost. Post and ghost is where you drop content and then you just bugger off. You just leave. So I had to make sure that the business owners knew, okay, we needed to be there replying to those people, because if you send a text message to someone, right, and it's this really long, beautiful message, and then in return you just get a thumbs up, ouch, that really hurts. So the same thing goes with your audience on Instagram. We have to
Yeah.
make them feel comfortable enough to engage, starting simple, and then eventually you ask better questions, you get better answers and stuff. So yes, summarize that,
No,
start
I
simple.
love that. I love it. And I mean, I'm definitely guilty of not engaging enough. I think for me, Instagram has never been personally one of my favorite platforms. And I've never really known why. It could be the types of accounts that I started following when I got my first Instagram account all those years ago. I'm not really sure what it is, but I think obviously wanting to spend time on a platform does make a difference. But even if it may not be your personal platform of choice, I think you're absolutely right. People, like you said, with text messages, if you also send people text messages and they never respond, you probably stop sending them text messages. So, same would go for the content. Okay, let's shift over a little bit from, you're working with these clients, everything shuts down, you're focusing on your own account, and you said you started to develop this strategy and you wanted to implement this strategy consistently for the next 30 days. Obviously, your past experience kind of helped direct what that strategy would look like. But tell me, what was that very first strategy? And let's go into why you thought some of those things would work.
Amazing. Before I share that strategy, I want to let everyone know that when you look at a big account and you see, hey, they're only posting one reel a week and they're growing, I can do that. But let me remind you that the way they post now isn't what they did at the start. What they did at the start is what got them to where they are now. And now they're at this
Mhm,
comfortable position where they can afford to only post one reel a week that goes into their sales funnel and keep the conversation
mhm.
going. So for me, when I first started out, it takes a lot of planning and energy. But once you do the planning and you've got all the content, it was really easy to keep going with this strategy. So I actually
Mhm.
implemented one reel a day for 30 days. That was in its most simplest form, the strategy.
Yeah. So let's kind of talk about how you decided what to create reels on. I want to get into the nitty gritty, but in general, how did you decide which topics were going to be the topics you focused on? You obviously had to have some ideal audience in mind. Who was that, and what topics do you feel were going to be most engaging for them?
Great question. I can tell you know where this is going based on how you set up that question. So, first of all, yes, I had to get into the head of my ideal audience and think, what do they want to see? What do they want to consume? So, a big mistake business owners do is they post from their perspective. And then what this does is it attracts their competitors, or they use, you know, industry jargon, which is so confusing and only they understand. Again, it attracts their competitors. It doesn't create a friendly environment that attracts the people they want, their ideal client. So first you need to figure out who is your ideal client, and then you need to get in their head and figure out what are their biggest problems, their biggest pain points. What are they struggling with the most? What is the thing that's keeping them from posting on Instagram? So for me, it was a lot to do with reels. How do you make them? What's the best type of reels? How do you reach more people? What should I even post? Things like that. So I focus my content towards solving their problems and two-way conversations, posting every day, and then having a specific structure for each reel so that it was engaging, and then following a checklist because I analyzed so many reels and I started to notice a pattern. Reels that did certain things didn't do very well, and reels that did other things were performing really well at the time. So what I did is I took from all of those little things and I made myself a little checklist of what needs to be in each reel. And then I leveraged that. So in each reel, I made sure that there was a strong hook, that captivates people, draws them in. And then I always made sure that the next bit was some form of value. I was either getting my audience to laugh and be like, oh, that is so me. I can completely relate to that content. I'm going to share this because I feel like you get me. So that was one area. And
Yeah.
then the next area that I had to make sure the reels were doing is they were either teaching them something, educating them so they go, oh, I didn't know that. This is really valuable. I'm going to follow along so I can continue learning more about this. And then, of course, you can make sure you inspire people. But that's the emotional side of it. In the content side of it, you need to make sure that your content attracts people. So for some businesses, you really want to focus on this. If you've got a smaller account and you really want to grow, focus more on attraction style content. If you've already got an audience, you need to focus on connection based content where you connect, create that community, get the conversations going. And if you've got followers, you've got a community, then you can focus on converting style content where you're letting your audience know what their problem is and that you have the solution and where they can get it, and you're sending them down that funnel. For me personally, I like to do a combination of all of these in my strategy. But for someone else who's listening and they're just starting out, focus more on the first two, 100%.
I love that. So, you know who you're speaking to, some of the topics that you want to share with them. And then you have this list of things that you're going through on each and every reel to make sure that your content is at least doing some of those things that you've seen other high converting videos do. What was your process like to plan out how you were actually going to create these on a technical level? So, were you choosing audio on the fly? Were you creating your own? The styles of videos, how did you go about deciding what went where? And I guess also how long each one of these videos was going to take to put together?
Amazing. Great question. So when I first started out, I knew that I didn't want to be posting a reel every day sitting there. That's going to be such a big waste of time. I only wanted to be there to show up and engage. I didn't want to have to make the content, do my hair and makeup every single day. Ain't nobody got time for that. So what I did instead,
No.
yeah, no, I decided to batch all my content, like group them in these different little categories, because when you're shifting from making content, filming it, and then doing the caption, you're shifting mindset, and that wastes a lot of time when you have to continuously go, okay, now I'm camera ready. Okay, now I have to do the caption. So instead, what I focused on is I did all the planning in one batch, like all the researching and the planning, and I just really focused on that. Then on another day, I did all the filming of these reels. And then another day, I did my captions. Another day, I did all my cover photos. So it made it so much easier and so much faster. So then I only had to do one or two filming sessions for that month. And then I had this giant batch of reels ready to go, ready to post. So the planning phase for me, what I did is I would look at other accounts that were industry leaders who I admired, and I analyzed their content, what they were doing. I drew on from my experience, I drew on from my knowledge. And then another thing I did is I'd simply just scroll through Instagram Reels at the time and see what was coming up a lot. And then if I noticed there was a particular trend or an audio, I would click on that audio and have a look. Now, this is really crucial. Have a look at who's using that audio. A lot of people just jump on any single trend, any audio, but they don't take the time to take notice of who's using it. Now, one time there was this trend and I saw a video. I was like, oh, I love this sound. I clicked on it and it was full of puppies and dog content. Now, I know if I was to use that audio, Instagram would be more likely to show it to people who also use that audio. And then there wouldn't be a connection. There'd be a big disconnection
Mhm.
because they're into, puppy content and I'd be here teaching marketing to that audio. So the reel wouldn't do well. So when I
Yeah.
was researching, I made sure that it was also targeting the right audience at the same time. So that's a little thing that a lot of people forget very easily, is to look at who's using that audio. And yeah, that was the research phase. And then what I would do is I'd take a link, I'd copy it and I'd paste it out in my notes. And then I'd create a column where it'd be like, okay, this is the topic for the reel. This is the link to an example. Here's an idea for it. I'll just jot that down. Sometimes I'd even, use little emojis to categorize them so it's faster. If it was a transition reel, I'd just put like a little dress emoji. If it was, and like a lip syncing reel, I'd just put like the lips. So I made it really fast. So I didn't have to spend a lot of time writing everything out. That's the planning phase. Researching, finding what I like, putting it in my notes. So it's all there in one place. Because if you save stuff on Instagram to your save folder, you're not going to find what you're looking for and you can get lost again. So the old way, you did save something and then you go to your save section and you'd watch some reels and you go down a rabbit hole and there goes your time.
Yeah,
So having it
absolutely.
outside of Instagram in your notes, and you know what you're doing with each reel, so much more productive. And then I'd set aside a day to film.
So when it comes to the research phase and using this trending audio, which I feel like is such a great tip on actually looking at who's using it. I've never even considered doing that, and I had no idea that that even played a role really in how the algorithm delivered the content, but that makes so much sense. What do you feel like is the right balance, if there is, a right balance between using things like trending audio and creating your own original audio?
Amazing. There is definitely a balance and it's different for each business. So you have to test it, test it, test it, test it. For one business, yeah, their account might work really well with just trending stuff. For another business, they might work better when they're, talking on their reels, talking reels, longer form content
Mhm.
versus shorter form content. So for each business, that would be different. It's like you're, at the Willy Wonka factory, but before you get there, you're looking for the golden ticket to get into the Willy Wonka factory. And a reel that works well is your golden ticket. How do you find that Wonka bar? You post more reels, you open more chocolates, eat more chocolates, yum yum, until you find that golden ticket, what works for you. For me personally, I like to do a little mix of both. That works really well with my audience. For someone who's brand new, just starting out, all this seems a little bit, whoa, Annika, slow down. You've just said all this stuff. I'm not ready to make my own audio from scratch. I don't even know where to start. A great place is just to go with the trending audios. I mean, Instagram wants you to use someone else's audio. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the button that says use audio, because you're
Mhm.
creating a community and a trend when you're jumping on an audio, and it helps, like you mentioned before, it helps the algorithm figure out who's your audience, who to show your content to. Have you ever posted a reel using a certain sound and then in your feed, all you can see is that trend in your feed?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that's the algorithm at work going, hey, you use this audio. Let's show you some reels who also use that audio. So inside of that, you want to use it as a strategy. And if you're new, just do trends. If you're feeling a bit more comfortable, go ahead and try something new. Try your own content. Try original audio.
Love it. So you've already gone through the planning. You said the next was the recording phase. I think this is something that a lot of people, obviously, they maybe are really excited in the planning and the research phase. Then it comes to actually doing the recording, and it takes quite a bit longer than they assumed it might take to create a 7 to 10 second video or more. What are your best tips for how to do that content the right way in a single day so that you do only have to do 1 or 2 recording sessions per month? And just kind of any tips and tricks that you've learned along the way to make that either faster or more effective.
Amazing. Great question. So for me personally, if I'm doing shorter form videos, I try to make them as easy as possible so I can just pump them out, bam, bam, bam. Because if they're harder, like it's a really hard lip sync maybe that you're trying to do and you just can't get it right, that's probably not the best one to do because you're going to get stuck on that. And before you know it, you've wasted 10 minutes on one reel. So I recommend
Mm.
picking really simple and easy ones because you can just pump them out like crazy. And then if you're doing longer
Mhm.
form content, don't try to say the whole spiel all at once. Just record one sentence at a time and then piece them together. It's way more engaging. You can change locations to even make it more engaging. You can change angles and everything. So that's how I would streamline it a bit more. Make it really, really easy for yourself. And then if you're having trouble being on camera, do what you got to do to make you feel good. For me, I put on some music, do a little bit of dancing. I just love grooving out. I grab my little baby and on my hip and we'll just bounce, and then dad will walk past and we'll all join in and we're having a dance party. And I feel really good. And then
Yeah.
maybe you want to do your hair or your makeup. Do whatever you do to just make you feel good, because then when you feel good, it comes across in your content. Simple and feel good.
I love that. So, what are the tools that you're using to either record or edit that content? Or are you just doing everything inside of Instagram directly?
I like telling everyone to do everything inside Instagram. It's got all the effects you need. It's got the editing, the
Hmm.
cutting, the trimming, everything you need to make these amazing videos is all inside Instagram. So I recommend people use all of Instagram's features because they want you in the app for longer. So the more you use their stuff, the better your reel will do.
Hmm. That's super interesting because I have thought there's all these people that are promoting these different types of reel or TikTok editing apps. And my question has always been like, what is the benefit of using them? Because they do give you what you need inside. Have you ever found that there is a benefit in using a third party app? Um, or people just like to make things more complicated than they need to be?
Yeah, you've nailed it. People make things way too complicated. Always the KISS method. Keep it simple, silly. It's easier for you and it's going to save you so much time. There is some benefit to using these other apps, like maybe they have some special effect that Instagram doesn't have, but try and search Instagram effects. Maybe they do have it. And 10
Yeah.
times, 9 times out of 10, Instagram has everything you need.
And maybe you don't even need it if you're kind of following along with what you're saying, especially if you're someone who's getting started, which I feel like the overwhelming majority of the people listening to this are not Reels professionals. Then you do want to keep it simpler. So maybe if the effect isn't in Instagram, it's probably not worth your time to try and create that type of reel. Am I right?
Yes, 100%. It's definitely not worth your time. If it's not there, Don't try to create this A+ level content. That's just going to stress you out and make you feel like you have to be perfect. And then you're not going to post the
Mhm.
reel. And then your account's not going to grow because you haven't posted anything because you're too scared of showing up and posting. Posting is always better than perfect.
100%. So, when it comes to the scripting of your reels specifically, how detailed do you get when it comes to your scripting? Are you winging things? Are you keeping things so simple that maybe it's only one or two lines that's even necessary? Or are you planning these out in some pretty detailed areas so that by the time it comes to recording, you don't have to think about anything? You know exactly what you're going to say, how you're going to say it.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. When I'm recording, I don't wanna have to do any thinking. I don't wanna waste any time, any brain
Yeah.
power. Making milk for my
Mhm.
baby already takes so much brain power. I do not have
True.
time to sit there and remember and try to remember these long lines, so I make it as simple as possible, completely planned out. First line, second line, third line, scenes, everything if I'm doing a longer reel. If it's a shorter reel, I'll just record it and later I'll figure out what to do with it if perhaps my baby's crying and she wants some love and attention. You got to be flexible. So you got
Mhm.
have to find that flow, what works for you.
Love it. Okay, so phase 3 is captions. How important are those captions? And I guess we'll just categorize hashtags into the mix as well. Are they afterthoughts or are they the first thing that you're thinking about when it comes to creating that reel? Are you always going to make something that already has a pre-planned caption?
Great. So when I'm planning out my content, I know roughly what the topic is for the reel, and that usually matches exactly what the caption says. You don't want to have a reel that's one thing and the caption is something completely different. With my captions, I think they are important because different people consume content differently. Some people are very visual and they'll just watch the reel and not read the caption. Some people love to
Mhm.
read, so they're there for the captions. Some people like both. So I like to make sure that whatever I put in my reel matches the caption. And that includes your call to actions because some people will watch the reel and if it says comment, then they'll comment. Whereas some people watch the reel and they don't know there's a call to action. Other people read the caption, then find the call to action. Make sure that it's
Mhm.
in the reel and the caption as well. Another good thing about longer captions is people have to take the time to read them, which means the reel's playing in the background over and over.
Yeah.
They're consuming your
Mhm.
content. Algorithm goes, hey, someone really likes this reel. They're watching it over and over. So that's another strategy within itself. And then, yeah, I like to plan out my captions and my reels so they both match.
So you're saying ultimately reiterating whatever it is you're talking about in the reel, very, very closely in that caption, not just dropping, one line. And I'm sure there's a place for that as well, kind of making a funny comment or something like that. But whatever it is that the reel is focused on, you're basically pretending that, someone might only pick one and you want them both to say the same thing. Okay. I think that makes so much sense. Do hashtags matter? And I think, ultimately for most people, they're going to, but how much do they matter? How do you do your hashtag research? And is there a magic number that you're kind of focused on? I know it used to be 30. Some people are saying now it's like 10, 8 to 12, something like that. What are your thoughts on hashtag and hashtag strategy?
So many people think hashtags are the key and they stress so much over these little hashtags. But I'm here to tell you they don't matter as much as you think. Yes, at the start, it was a great strategy to use, but now you're better off focusing your time on creating better reels. That's what's going to
Hmm.
work because not only does the reels work and the caption work and the hashtags, not really so much because there's SEO in place. Instagram now also
Hmm.
looks at what you write in your caption to help
Hmm.
categorize your reel, which was the old job of hashtags. They do help, but Instagram wanted people to clean up the hashtags because they were overusing them and misusing them. So
Yeah.
when people were looking at these hashtags, content was all over the place and it didn't really work for Instagram because they make money the longer you spend on the platform. So they started telling everyone to use less and less hashtags in hope it'll help clean everything up. I feel like it has definitely cleaned it up. And I want you to also think about the consumer experience. When they're reading your caption and they get to the bottom and they see this gigantic chunk of hashtags, it looks kind of spammy. So
Yeah.
personally, I recommend just using a few and just using them to categorize your reel, and don't spend so much time focused on them because the words in your caption count. Every word you use in your caption is SEO. It helps Instagram categorize and put the right content in front of the right people. So don't even worry about the hashtags. Just focus on your content.
It's so interesting because I think you're probably the first person I've spoken to who's ever mentioned the captions and their place with SEO. And that makes so much sense because obviously these platforms have gotten so much smarter over the years, and the captions themselves really should be enough. So I think that's great advice. And I do think that no one ever really understood, most people never really understood the best way to do kind of hashtag research. Like, are people even following these hashtags? Are they seeking them out? Or am I just doing it because I think I'm supposed to be doing it? And when something doesn't work, am I blaming it on the hashtags or am I blaming it on the actual piece of content? So I know we already talked a little bit about that cover photo and how you don't necessarily feel like it's a must, but you do feel like for you, it's been something that's really helped a lot. Talk us through what your process is in creating those. And let's say somebody isn't going to do all those cover photos, anything else that you feel like they can do to help their content perform better when it comes to just that starting screen or the profile grid image, so to speak.
Great. I love making my cover photos. What I do when I've made my content is I save my reel to my camera roll, and then I scroll through and find a still shot. I screenshot that, and then I use that on my cover photo so that it matches what the reel is about. I actually did
Mhm.
a photo shoot and I had heaps of photos of me that I could use. So at the start, when I didn't have enough time to go through each reel and screenshot, I just used an image that I have of me in, some sort of pose matching the vibe of the reel, whether it's a surprise face or
Yeah.
thinking, or I'm holding a phone, making sure that it matches always. And then I would look at my content and go, all right, what is the main piece of information in this content? And then pulling a hook out of that and putting that on my cover photo. So I put myself on it and then I put a title related to the content. And then I keep that pink background going. I do it all in Canva, super easy.
Mhm.
But you don't even have to do it in Canva. You can create your cover photo on your story. It is the exact right dimensions for a reel. So you
Yeah.
can open up your reels and hey, if you want a completely solid color, just pick the color marker, press and hold on it, and it will fill your whole screen in one color. Then you can tap the sticker button, upload some pictures on top of it, use the text they have there. Boom, easy way to create a caption. If you want to go even more simpler, you can just screenshot your reel and then go to your story, upload it, and then add your caption there and then use that as your caption. So there's so many ways you can do it. Really easy. Just make it on your story. It's already the right dimensions. So that's how I do my cover photos. I mean,
I love that. And I mean, I guess makes it even easier with your pink blazer doing the photo shoot because you've got all these photos that are going to work perfectly for almost every aesthetic. I love it. So, is there any other piece of advice that you would give to a business who's asking themselves, okay, I know that I need to be more social on social. I know I need to create content. I really need to generate more customers. I really need the foot traffic. I need the sales. When it comes to delivering value content versus some of those pieces that are more sales driven, what's the right tone if you're trying to use a reel for foot traffic, leads, or sales?
mhm, problem solution style reels. So you're highlighting to your audience they have a problem that they didn't know about.
Mhm.
Then you're telling them, I have the solution. And then you're funneling them towards, the next step in your funnel. So an example of a reel like this would be putting the problem out there. Let's say your reel said something like, help, I have no idea to make good reels. And then the next line you could be like, hey, I have a free masterclass for you. Comment a keyword So then people go in, they comment that keyword, and then they are in your sales funnel. So that's how I would structure my sales reels. Very problem solution focused. You don't give away the solution, but you let them know I have your solution and this is your problem. So that's how I would structure the sales style reels.
I
And
love that. And I think oh, go ahead.
another thing is people think they need more followers. Actually, you don't. You just need better relationships with the ones you already have. Say someone just has 1,000 followers and maybe they've made 2 or 3 sales. They think, oh, I need, 2 more 1,000 followers to make 4 or 6 sales. Actually, you have a
Mhm.
thousand people already there, already following you. Talk to them, help them get to know you better, and then convert them. And you'll have such a better result than if you keep thinking, I need to work on getting more and more people to my page.
Yeah. And I do think that the mindset around that is a problem because we have been so conditioned in a lot of ways to think of social media and the number of followers that we have as just these numbers, but they're real people and they're real people who are voluntarily following you or your business. And if you had those real people standing in front of you or coming into your store, I mean, you'd be ecstatic. So if you really kind of remember, hey, every single person here is a real person, I do think it makes it a lot easier to appreciate maybe what you already have. And I also think that businesses who are local, especially, I mean, you can never, I wouldn't say never. It's very unlikely that a large percentage of them are ever going to see 1 million followers unless they just have this amazing brand personality that people love to follow for one reason or another. There's kind of a cap on what you can expect from your local community, and that's okay because if you are a local business, you're not there to serve the entire world. You are there to serve your local community and really, kind of focusing your efforts closer to home. It's what you've got to do to thrive anyway. So, I think that's such great advice. If you could leave the audience with one final tip, piece of advice, or insight that you've learned over the years, what would that be?
There's a quote that I really like, that really motivates me. It says, I'm going to butcher it. I'll just claim it as myself and say this is the Pink Sparrow version. The water
Yeah.
doesn't flow unless you turn on the faucet. You are that faucet. So open it, let the water flow. Take that first step. You can't just expect there to be this gigantic flowing river and a waterfall. You have to turn the tap on. Turn yourself on, babe.
Mhm.
Not like that. Turn the content on.
Oh, yeah. Love it. Thank you so much. I think this has been so educational. I know it's going to help so many people out there. So if somebody wants to learn about your course, how to make better reels, where can they go to find you?
Pink Sparrow Social. I'm on Instagram. Hang out there with me and let's connect.
Yeah, check out some reels, get some inspiration. I think they're amazing. They're definitely helpful and I think all of you listening, you are looking to create better reels. That's what our content focuses on, and so that's what you're going to be able to find. So, thank you so much for joining me today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and I will see you on the next one.